I swear to God. More and more we look at wrestling, the more we look at TKO, it just seems like they're just doing anything strange for me is getting a little more change. It's the month of February, and for those who don't know, I'm a huge wrestling fan, especially around this time of year because it usually means the road to WrestleMania. We got big matches, big stories, big names on the way. I've always said that WrestleMania should be a national holiday. That's what I used to feel. Elimination Chamber is next week, and so far there's only one match that's totally confirmed for WrestleMania, that being the main event of the entire show, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the world title. How you feel about that match, how I feel about that match is not the main topic of the video. The main topic of the video, unfortunately, is TKO. Because there are reports going around that they were hammering all efforts to try to bar people from hosting watch parties. Basically meaning, if you want to tune into WrestleMania, you cannot watch it in a social setting. You either have to buy a ticket to go there in person or watch it at home with your ESPN unlimited subscription. Because they want as much money, they want to squeeze out as much money as possible from the core fan base. This is going to drive that core fan base away because when you think about it, the product itself, the quality of the product from the stories we have to the championship booking to the match quality does not compensate for this level of greed that is being shown from TKO. I could honestly say this would somewhat be salvageable or somewhat understandable if TKO and WWE and Triple H were giving us 5-star shows, 5-star bangers every week, every Raw, every SmackDown, every PLE. But that's not what's happening. But even then, you could still say they're charging too much money, no matter how good the show is. Now they're doing it with Elimination Chamber. Now they're doing it with a standard PLE. They're not just doing it with their biggest show of the year. They're doing it for a regular PLE where they're not charging as much for tickets. Wrestling fans, please get ready because this is going to be the theme for the majority of the year, if not the entire year, and for the rest of WWE. I got into wrestling from talking about it with my friends at school. That went into watching wrestling with my friends at school. And that went into watching wrestling with my family. That went into moments like watching Daniel Bryan win the championship at WrestleMania. That went into moments like watching Undertaker retire Shawn Michaels in a beautiful story told. John Cena and The Rock once in a lifetime. Cody Rhodes finishing the story. All these moments that I've got to witness in my lifetime, I got into wrestling by watching it and talking about it with other people. That is truly the bread and butter of how people get into this shit. I could talk to people from the old generation that grew up with the Attitude Era, and they'll tell me how many great times they've had watching wrestling with their friends. When you do shit like this, you're driving away the core fan base. You're driving away the potential main reason to tune into wrestling in the first place is getting that experience of watching it with your homies and talking shit about the wrestlers. But then you got shit like WWE Unreal that completely... It doesn't kill kayfabe, it dances on kayfabe's grave. I've never had a problem with Unreal because I do like seeing the behind the scenes of how they put the shit together, but there's some shit you should not see. If you're giving us mid-ass quality TV, putting people in positions they shouldn't be in, making people champions when they're not ready, giving us mid-match after mid-match and giving us predictable content, and you're charging so much money too? There was already an issue last year in like August, I think it was after a Clash in Paris, when there was reports of how much the WrestleMania front row tickets were going to be. Them motherfuckers were in the 10,000s. At first I was like, it's WrestleMania, it's the biggest show of the year, it's 2 nights, it's Vegas, I get it. They want as much money as possible. That was August. I was able to rationalize that in August. It's February and WrestleMania is 2 months away, and I have a big problem with everything that TKO is doing. And don't even get me started on them having the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia a few weeks ago, and then they got WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia next year. They're going to have every major PLE. At first it was the Rumble. Now it's Mania. They're going to have a year where they have the big 5 PLEs. Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank. All those going to be in Saudi. Then years from that point, the whole calendar going to be in Saudi. The whole calendar. They're going to have their main stars completely relocate to Saudi Arabia just to make these shows. Why? Because they want as much money as they can. This is nasty. This is nasty work from TKO. This is nasty work from WWE. And it's just further killing the sport that I grew up loving. It's tragic. It's really, really tragic.